Good morning. I'm Judy Owen and I'm here with my friend Pat Meredith, and I'm going to show you something amazing. We talk about Collector's Corner. This is a collection like you've probably never seen outside of a museum. Pat, tell me how you got into this to start with.
Well, I've always liked fiber, and I was a home economics teacher, and I decided I needed to collect the textile tools that go with fiber, and that's how I started. I always did sewing. I did learn to sew from my mother, but she didn't knit or any of that. I had other women teach me how to do those things, but I just enjoy it. It makes me happy. So
Well, it makes me happy too, and we're very happy to share this collection with Shell Point viewers. How about we take a tour, Pat? Well, when you enter Pat's apartment, this is the first thing that you see. This is a very, very large spinning wheel. It's called a walking wheel. And behind the wheel and on top of it are some jacquard coverlets, extremely collectible. Interesting thing about these is they were made with a loom that worked off of a punched card, very similar to the old player pianos. So Pat, tell me, is this one of your original starting of the collection, or is this something you acquired later?
no, when we were on a trip up into Canada, I bought 2 spinning wheels, this one and another one, which is a handmade one. And after I bought them, then I thought, I need to learn to use them. Now, this one, you can get your exercise on this. If you really spin on this one, you can get about 8 miles in a day.
So let's walk down the hallway now, and we're going to see her collection of miniature sewing machines used by little girls from the early 1900s into around the 1920s. Pat's collection is extraordinary because she not only has the little machines, which of course do really work, but she also in many cases has the original cases or boxes that they came in.
Yes, I enjoyed this one. It's in bad shape, but it's got its posters on. It looks like it's a Singer, but it's a box, just like you might put on a suitcase, and the poster that comes with. But some of them are much older than others. There's new ones are the plastic ones that we now have.
Yes, these are metal. There is some rust on a couple of them, but other than that, they're in amazing condition. Now let's move into the living room. And the first thing I see is a wonderful dough box. Now this, of course, is not sewing related. This was actually used to store dough. This is from Pennsylvania. It's in its original paint, and it's got a nice breadboard top on it. You know when you are knitting, and if you think back when your grandma was knitting, she would have you as a child hold the yarn, the skein of yarn, one in each hand, and then you would start a ball, and you would twist and twist and twist until you got that skein into a nice ball. This is how these were used. Is there one we could open up?
This would clamp onto the table, and you would push it up as big as your skein was around. Once you did, you would lock it in place by tightening. And in this case, there is where you'd put a nail in, and then you would stand and wind the ball, and this goes around. Let me get my hand out of the way, but it would go. If you have it on the table.
And then when you finished with that ball, if you were still working on it and you had to go to dinner, you'd stick it up here in the little cup in the top, would hold it while you did your chores.
That's the way they work. They all work the same. They're big ones and small ones, and some work easier than others.
Well, let's walk out on the porch. Now this is how I first knew about Pat's collection. I was walking our dog down by the marina, and as I happened to glance up at the apartment, I could see spinning wheel, spinning wheel, spinning wheel, yarn winder, and I said, I have got to meet this lady. So this is an extraordinary collection. Why don't you tell us about this one? This caught my eye because it's still got some of the original paint on it, and the distaff.
Right, it is a small one, and it was from the old country. When it came, the people I bought it from, they had children traveling over there, and one of the maidens was missing. And she asked, was it missing when you packed it? No, but it was taken out by the country from which it came. So one of my young men in my class at school, he said, Miss Meredith, I can fix that for you. I'll make you another one. So he made me one. It will spin. Just like any person or machine that's older, sometimes you have little quirks, and it takes a little while to getting used to working on them, but they do work.
Now, I noticed this unusual, I'm going to call it a machine. Tell us about this.
Back in the 20s and 30s, during the Depression, they came out with these circular sock machines. Needles are not in here, but you would put your yarn in a weight on it here, and as you turn the thing, the material would come down below. It knits it. And they would then buy them back from you, the socks you made, but they overproduced and went bankrupt.
And I see a collection over here that I think everybody would enjoy. This is a collection of sewing birds. These were clamped. Do you see them on the top here? They were clamped onto a table. And then you press the little bird's tail and the mouth opened up, and you put your fabric in there, and then you could draw it taut. If you were going to, for instance, embroider and you wanted somebody to hold that fabric for you, that's how they were used. The birds are the most common, but they also had dogs and they had frogs, and those of course run into the thousands. All right, well of course I noticed this the minute I walked in, and this is made out of whalebone. And Pat, you want to tell them a little bit about how you found it?
I had been reading magazines about it, and I was over in Maui and went to the museum there in the shopping center, and I was ready to leave, and I said, oh Phil, we need to go back and see if they have these umbrella swifts. And sure enough, and there was a young man behind the counter. He said, do you collect that kind of stuff? I said, yeah, I do. And he said, well, I've got a couple extra that we cannot use. I would be willing to sell, but you know, it won't be it'll be your third car, second car. And he said, but I can't do it till I get off work. So we said, we'll come back, and he did. This is the one I bought from him. However, when they gave me the information on it, it was probably purchased from whalers out of New England, but it ended up in Hawaii. So the ribbons are original to the piece, and they're getting very fragile. So
why did they put those ribbons on there?
I think it was just to beautify.
Just
it,
decorative.
Yeah. And they think it had to be the captain of the ship. He would be the only one that had room in which to make it.
Well, thank you, Pat. This has been a marvelous quick tour. I could probably spend a month here and see something different each and every hour. So thank you again. It's been wonderful. I hope everybody enjoys our tour.